All right, here we are.
Boy, we were all over the place on that one.
Yeah, we were.
That's
Sometimes that's going to happen.
I don't mind. I think that it's a lot of difference. It's always nice. I think our best shows are the ones that just kind of organically flow one thing into the other. But there was a lot of disjointed kind of current events going on.
I felt that. Yeah, I felt that too. Oh, well, we'll do better next time.
Yeah. Well, get docked and pay on this one.
Yeah. No pay for you this week.
Seems like there were some things that I was purposely trying to hold over, but go ahead.
I wanted to bring up something my brother said to me, and I just wrote it down, and maybe we could have a quick discussion about it. But we were talking about Christianity in particular, church, and we were talking about denominations, and my brother came up with a name for a denomination, a new denomination. And
I think it's needed. Let's hear
it. The non-judgmental denomination. And I kind of like that because people, church shouldn't be about judgment. So many people stay away from church, stay away from religion because they feel like everybody's going to judge them.
Well, it's based on Judgment Day.
Well, but
that.
According to Christianity, this is a quote right out of the Bible, and now there is no condemnation for those who love the Lord. And so, but it seems like churches, I'm not trying to point the finger at anybody, but it just seems like religious people are always trying to, those people are doing this and they're wrong, or they're doing that, or the whole gay thing, the thing that here, especially living out in California, is they make it so that it makes gay people feel like they can't go to church, or that they're gonna be judged. Or
historically, that's been the case. I mean,
that's not supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be. I understand what you're saying.
I like the sentiment of what you're saying.
Non-judgmental.
That's a tough one. It's kind of like a go to Planet Fitness, and it's got right up there in giant letters, the no judgment zone. And what do you go to the other side, and on the wall they have lunkhead, and it looks like a definition out of Webster's dictionary, right? And it's somebody that grunts and groans and drops their weights and stuff like that. So they have their own judgment, is what they did right here. The one side says no judgment zone. The other side, they come up with this whole grandiose, horrible judgment on people. Now, there is no such thing as no judgment. This is the slippery slope. If you're walking down the street and it's 9:00 at night, and you are thinking about taking a left down an alley, and there's a black guy down there, you see him down there, you're making a judgment. Now, if you're not, then you're not human. Because you're making a judgment if you're going to stick your hand underwater when you see where the tap is set to, like, is that hot or how hot? Because everything that you're doing, and it's a series of hierarchy, is about safety. You're trying to keep yourself safe. So every single thing that you do, you're making a value judgment on. So if you're choosing to go down an alley, and whether it's a white person all tatted up with long hair, okay, you're making a value judgment. So
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what I even mean about the Planet Fitness. My gym tries to do that too. Now I couldn't wait for that gym to open because I was so sick of going to that commercial gym where I went with all those bunch of meatheads. They're grunting and groaning, slamming their weights down, and I can't stand
slamming their weights down.
Oh yeah, every time a superhero movie comes out, they're all. And I can't stand that. I wasn't like that when I was that young either, by the way. So I couldn't wait for this, but they don't even have scales. Oh, that would be judgment. Okay. See, so there's one thing of not being judgment in every man's gym. Cool. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Like, tone down all that. I don't want to see bimbos in there all made up either. I don't want that distraction. Or the meathead thing. I just want to work out in the morning. But give us a scale. We want to, see our progress, a personal thing. I'm not I'm not, I don't want it in big letters, my weight going up across the top of the gym ceiling or something. No, but I want to see it myself. And like I said about the no lunkhead thing. Oh, and then they, for better or for worse, if you drop your weights or grunt or something, they put off a siren. So it shames you.
Wow.
It shames you. No, it keeps people from doing that. But what I'm saying is there's no such thing as no judgment. It's still going to come in.
Yeah. No, I think when I'm taught I
understand your sentiment.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at some point it's going to turn on you. That's my point.
And I guess where I was coming from is that, from a Christian point of view, is that Jesus accepts you exactly the way that you are. That you don't have to change in order for Christ to love you. In fact, he proved that by going to the cross before you even did anything to change. And that should be the sentiment of the church, is that we accept you, and you don't have to change in order to be loved. And I don't think that that's a message that everyone's getting out there. I think that, in fact, I remember before I became a Christian, I thought, well, I don't want to do that because I'm going to have to give up all these things that I love to do, and I'm going to have to be this other person. And I don't think that's the way that it should be. But I kind of like that whole concept.
I like the concept too. And I think I don't want to shut it down whatsoever. I don't want to be that guy. It'll never work, when you're brainstorming something. No, I highly encourage it. I'm just opening up a light to, there's always judgment. And the further you lean into this no judgment thing, the more you'll realize you're creating a different judgment.
Well, yeah. And even the whole no judgment could be a judgment.
That is my point. The more you lean into it, the more you'll realize you're going to create a judgment. That's what they do at Planet Fitness. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. It's like looking into the Hall of Mirrors. It's like, I can't get out of this.
Yeah.
No matter if I look behind me, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Let me cover this movie that I saw, because it actually brings up a pretty interesting subject. And the movie is called Ex Machina. I
saw that.
Yeah. So
great philosophical movie.
Yes, I thought so too. So the whole movie is based on this guy that he's a programmer for a Google-like company, and he wins a contest so that he can be with the CEO. He wins a trip to go to the CEO's mansion out in the secluded area and spend a week out there. What ends up happening is that he's surprised by the CEO because he becomes a part of this experiment where he's supposed to judge a human-like creation of his, where he's developed through AI a mind in this very human-looking robot or android, I guess, and he's supposed to judge whether this creation is human-like. And really great. I mean, it's a very thought-provoking movie. According to won a whole bunch of awards, and
it was an excellent movie.
I was riveted by the whole thing. I mean, I
should watch it twice too.
Yeah, I couldn't leave my seat. I had to see the whole movie. It's funny because I have the ability to pause the movie and everything with the cable that I have, but Anne-Marie had paused it so long that we couldn't pause it anymore. So like Scott called me up in the middle of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching a movie, I gotta go. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and the twist at the end of the movie, I won't give it away. But it was mind-blowing and at the same time sort of predictable.
As much as we talk about AI, it's kind of like the movie version of what we talk about.
Exactly. And coincidentally, at the same time, I was talking to my friend Rex, and he put a post up about dystopian type of environments that are in movies, and he was bringing up Soylent Green. But at the end of his little article, he had, when was the last time you watched a movie about AI that had a happy ending?
Right.
Sort of thought provoking, and I had to. I can't think of one.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing that we're looking at, and we have so much of this that's going on right now, where our country and countries around the world are fast developing this technology, AI. And I brought up this article last week of biotechnology, and how our government and the Chinese government are working on biotechnology and AI put together. And, anytime technology is involved, there's so much good that can come out of it, but our countries always look at it as national defense as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the article that came out was about how the Chinese, the People's Liberation Army, has been testing mind control using biotechnology and AI in order to place thoughts into their own army, place thoughts into their enemy's army.
We're doing that. We're doing that.
And yeah. And so this is my point, though, is if we have an article coming out saying that they're doing it, it means we're doing it. We have to do it. And I mean, if whatever we come up with, they got to come up with. And it's like the space race. It's the exact same thing with with these things. And so I just wanted to get, what's your take on that whole thing?
What's the exact question? About the AI race?
Well, let me frame it in a different way. Is that you are a person that has talked about melding mind and melding human and machine together.
Sure, inevitable.
And I see where this whole concept of, hey, that could be a good thing, but of course our governments are going to get a hold of it, and they're going to use it really to kill people. That's what they always do. And there was a bit of that concept in that movie Ex Machina as well, and just wanted to get your take on that.
Oh, it's so complicated because I don't know what comes first. When you speed up a cybernetic process, the mind, if you could take something, a supercomputer like the brain, and combine it with AI so that it's supercharged. Well, at what point? Oh, stop! I'm trying to talk here. At what point do people come together and quickly it becomes impenetrable to the government? Like, okay, couple that or juxtapose that with what I've wondered about forever is with a quantum computer.
Yes.
You got AI coupled with a quantum computer. How is it not God, like, immediately? Okay. And so therefore, even the strongest government and with our primitive minds cannot outthink it. It's already seen the thousands of different possibilities that could happen with all the horrible outcomes. So the quantum computer guides everything. Guides every action so that it guides it to a peaceful outcome. That's what it all seems like to me. So, you brought it up, the good point, I think Rex did, about when's the last time you saw a good outcome with this AI stuff? Oh, no, never. It's because when we dip our big toes into the unknown and into evolution, we always worry. We're scared to death about what could be, the horrible outcome, and things were always better in our rose-colored glasses of the days in history. When the fact is, and I'm going to correct something I said, I think last week, about the great things that are going on in the world. I said 170,000 people are being pulled out of poverty every day because of the growing richness of our world. It's 135,000, not 170. I misquoted that. But to my point, we always, because it goes back to what we're talking about, judgments, and you have to make judgments in order to stay safe. we want to know the bad news, the potential bad income, so that we can stay predictively safe. And so we don't know what's going to happen with AI. We don't know what's going to happen if a UFO comes down tomorrow. So what do we always do? We assume it's going to be a horrible, destructive thing to us, because that's what we worry about. That's what we want to know about. Now, if it's just a rosy outcome, okay, move on to the next thing. Who cares? That's it. So you don't write a story like that, okay, rosy outcome, who cares? That's my feelings on it. So anyways, I tend to think I can see all the horrible outcomes, the strong possibility of mind control, manipulation, when we're talking about social engineering that we're doing now for social credits in order to control people's behavior. I can absolutely go down that road all day long and talk about the horrors of what could and may very well happen. But what's not being said, and what is more probable, if you look at historically speaking, how we get better and better and better, which is why I brought up about people coming out of poverty and all that. Everything's truly gotten better, but we only focus on the bad. And we talked about a couple of weeks ago how, the rainforest, hell, by now we're going to be choking on CO2. But no, we replenished all the rainforest, but we don't talk about that. We improved everything so much. And that's what's going to continue to happen if you just follow the chart on what's happened throughout history. Climate change, oh my God, we're going to, torch the planet and all that. We'll rectify that. It's not the 12-year boom, kaboom, the planet's going up. No, it's we're going to lose a degree by the end of the century, or 5 degrees or something like that by the end of the century. But that's time to reverse things, and we're taking it seriously now. So I tend to think the same thing about AI, is that we are going to combine this intelligence into something that will be so freaking intelligent that it will be able to see all the thousands of different ways that things can go off the rails, and it will take all those little tiny events and turn them in the right direction so that we have a more sustainable outcome.
That's an interesting take that you have there, and I see it. I see what you're saying, and
I see both ways.
Yeah,
I see both ways.
So do I. I also see where, as we develop technology, and as the information age is linking technologies together, you add in quantum to that whole thing, and developments happen very quickly. At the same time, developments in eliminating enemies can happen at a much more at quantum speed. There's good and bad that can happen here, so I guess we're just going to have to find out. But at the end of the day, looking at these things,
if we get this cybernetic link between us and we become a human internet, we basically merge with the internet, which is kind of like the Borg on Star Trek, but that's a dystopian kind of Borg. All right, but if we link all human beings together like this, it's kind of the point. We're all human beings. We're not United States. We're not Americans and Chinese and Russians and all that. And so if 7 billion people are linked, and not just 100,000 government officials from around the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. And that's such an interesting thing that you just said, right? Is that when you take a look at what you're describing is really one world and one world government. That's exactly how the ending of the Bible happens, and how mankind destroys itself.
I'm telling you, there's so many biblical tie-ins, metaphors, it seems.
Yeah. Well, in the Bible, it's not a good thing. No. It's a bad thing when that happens. And because it turns out that the people that have the power to make that happen still have that human quality about them, where absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's part of the fallen nature of man. So it's an interesting concept.
But absolute power happens with division. All right. You can't have absolute power unless you're walled off in some way. If all of humankind is linked together, that's kind of that's the opposite. Everybody has equal power. Everybody is the power. Everybody, basically, I think you become God at that point. All one. I always think that we're all just droplets of God. I mean, each
I
one of us.
understand what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
I can
link them all together and you got God. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many different stories in the Bible that where people are trying to make that happen, and not just the Bible, but in human history, where people are trying to make that happen, and it always ends up being a bad thing.
I think a lot of it is interpretation, though. But
I don't know about that. Well, I mean, I have some examples where you can't say that it's an interpretation. It's just that's how it happened. Anytime we've tried to, whenever we've tried to combine forces and combine and be one, it seems to me like that just doesn't work. Look at the European Union and bringing together all of those different countries under one thing, and it seems like Europe is just falling apart. It doesn't seem like it's working out very well for them, and I see a pattern in that whole thing that just doesn't see. It seems like I get what you're saying, and I want it to be the way that you're saying it, but it just seems like the fallen nature that we have, where people are always trying to have power over people, that's a part of human nature that's never going to stop. And that's where bad things happen. If everybody had benevolence on the inside of them, and that's really what the core of their DNA was, then I could see what you're saying would be the truth. But that's just unfortunately not how everybody thinks. I wish that
we all have both. I mean,
we do all have both. We do all have both. I mean,
benevolence and benevolence. I mean,
and once again, I mean, if we take a look at the internet right now, what was that neighborhood app that we were on? Man,
Next Door.
People get on that and they just want to destroy everybody on there. Yeah. And it seems to be the human nature. Okay, so now you got to tell me what's going on over there with your dog. Why?
He's been in his cage.
Does he have his paw caught on something?
No, he's been in his cage. But I'll tell you though, I think the biggest thing is the snow. This is only the second time he's seen snow, and I took him for a long walk this morning, and he just loves it. Like, oh my God, does he love it?
He wants to be out there, huh?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Hey, did you hear Betty White passed away?
I know. Yeah.
I thought she was going to live. She was 99. She was almost 100 years old.
Yeah, I know. That's really
that wasn't expected.
American treasure.
Yeah, I really loved her. Just every movie that she's been in over the last 15 years, she's just hit a home run. Just really funny, and really have loved her career. One of my favorites was that Snickers commercial that she was in. Do you remember where? Okay, so these guys are playing like backyard football, and the one guy's just the one guy is just complaining, but it's actually Betty White. And it's like, dude, what's the matter with you? And
kind of remember this.
Betty White is like, but these guys are doing this and they're doing that. Here, just have a Snickers. And she eats the Snickers and she turns back into a dude again.
That is funny. I do remember seeing that.
She just had a great sense of humor. I liked her on the Mary Tyler Moore Show as well.
Oh God, that was a long time ago. She always played the old lady type. She never really changed her character.
Yeah, she never. I think that it came out of that. Apparently, on Mary Tyler Moore, she was supposed to just be what do you call, where she's just one episode she was supposed to be in, and she did so well, and the ratings did so well that they used her as a regular after that.
That's funny. That's an amazing case of Breaking Bad, where the character Jesse was supposed to be a spot character like that for I think only the pilot episode, but he was so popular he became the co-star, and he was everybody's favorite. Yeah, he was something. That show, oh my God, I know I always bring it up, and with that, Similar show in its final season is coming out, Ozark, in about 3 weeks. And Lisa and I can't wait. We've already decided we're going to plan snacks, particular snacks, like good stuff. We're going to take it to another level for each episode.
Oh, I don't know anything about that show. What is that about again?
It's a family. Okay, so this guy is an accountant in Chicago. And this is the pilot episode right here. He and his partner are these high-level accountants in Chicago. And they were kind of sort of laundering money for the Mexican cartel. And the cartel shows up. Something happens. I don't know what. But the main character doesn't know it. His partner was doing all this money laundering for the cartel. Right. Well, the cartel shows up at their big high rise in Chicago and like, you better fix this. Whatever you do with our books, it's messed up or something, I'm paraphrasing a lot. And so Marty, the main character, they kill his partner right there. Boom. This is the pilot episode. And so Marty's like, no, I can fix it. And they're like, how? And well, his partner just a minute before this happened gave him this brochure, how he was going to run off to the Ozarks and, those Finger Lakes that, if you know anything about it, look it up if you don't know anything about it. But it's kind of a middle of nowhere, all these big lakes and everything. And so Marty, just like fearing for his life, says, well, because I'm going to open up all of these money laundering things for you here in the Ozarks. And so he saves his own life and of his family's by promising the world to the Mexican cartel. He doesn't know he was trying to figure out what was going on in the meantime. So that's the premise of the movie. They have to move out to Nowhereville, Ozarks, on these lakes here where there's just hillbillies. Then there's more up and coming type people. There's just all kinds of shady characters. And he has to open up these businesses to launder all this money to keep his family alive from the Mexican cartel who keep showing up. And oh boy, they have to start killing people and things like that. So it's dark. And every time that's like, okay, we actually pulled that off and we laundered all their money. Then they up the ante and they have to do something bigger. Yeah. It's a fantastic show.
Is it? It sounds anxiety provoking.
It is, but the acting is so great. The character development is so great. And like Breaking Bad, they're sticking, I believe, to 5 seasons and boom, that's the cap, which is,
I gotcha.
I love that. The artistic integrity.
That's good. Yeah. I like that too.
I don't know if I ever brought this up, but this drives me crazy about Netflix. They always just, we didn't renew all of these episodes, all of these series, half of which were doing pretty well. But they looked at the numbers and they think that they could bring in some new stuff and get better numbers. And it drives me crazy because I think if they thought it through from this end, they have all of these really good series that, have no ending. So why bother watching them? These past ones. Why would they just not say that was good, numbers pretty good, but we think we got something better. So let's just do half a season to cap that, to put a closure on it. Then you can sell that encapsulated series to whoever. And, it's
instead
more
of just cutting them off at the knees.
Leaving it there in the ether. I think that, it's more satisfying, obviously, for your own viewers. You have more faith in your network, but it seems to me in the end, it'd be more profitable for them to be able to sell that in the future to a syndicate to, whoever. I mean,
that sounds like a great marketing
that drives me
idea.
Crazy.
Yeah.
There was
that too.
I told you a long time ago, there was a fantastic series on Prime, Bloodline. And I started watching it because it was set in the Keys. And so it was about this family that lived in Key West, and it's just fantastic. And like Ozark, it was just like all these horribly dark things would happen, and they had to get themselves out of jams. But it was just so beautiful. I'd never been to the Keys, believe it or not, and so I was in the Keys. Kind of played such a big part in it, and so I loved it. Very popular series, very good. And then they just didn't renew it, so it never had an ending. The perfect example of that.
Yeah. No closure.
Yeah. Just do
closure. Yeah.
Six episodes to cap it off. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Why don't they consult me? You know?
They should.
Yeah.
Hey, I got something to follow up on. Your favorite.
Come on. You got something?
Right, yeah, I do actually. So this thing that was on the moon, you were asking, I think it was the last show. It was like, what happened? What's
it's
going on?
It's been 4 weeks now.
Yeah. So I think we should be learning something pretty quickly on that. Maybe not. Here it is. It says that the Lunar Rover that spotted a strange cube-shaped object and will alter its official course to check it out, needing 2 to 3 months to arrive.
What? Seriously?
Yep. So we
that thing can move 3 feet and get a better picture.
Whoops. Yeah. So okay. I guess it's kind of hard to tell the distance on this. This is a really bad picture. There's no good picture either.
No, but it's the moon. It's not like it's that big, you know.
But
it's not that far.
Who knows how fast that little rover can move as well? But anyway, I just wanted to follow up on that and let you know that they did say 2 to
we will never ever hear another thing about it, because the closer it gets to it, the more it's going to be like, oh, that's a couple of rocks, you know, for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad that it's going to take that long. You would think, come on, man, you could get another spaceship up there by that time.
Yeah, no kidding. So what else you got? I got
another
snow.
One here. Here's something.
Seriously. In a few minutes.
Here's something that I think is just kind of interesting.
Oh, I saw that.
That they found.
Very interesting. I mean, because it's so well preserved. It's a baby dinosaur, right?
Yeah. And they're talking about just how inside of this egg, it's just exactly the way birds are, and sort of the Jurassic Park theory, where the guy was like, dinosaurs are really all, bird-like or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. There's some
love that stuff. I don't share most of it because I didn't think you would find it interesting.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Like, what's up? And also, here's what I was thinking is, how in the world does an egg get fossilized like that? Like,
I think it's such a rare moment in time. Like I remember just back from elementary school that some of these things would be because it would get caught in this ember that would gel at just the right time. Other times a volcano eruption, and so then the lava would just cool over something at just the right time. Other times something would be compressed in mud, which would slowly turn to rock, but the circumstances are such that it's preserved. So it doesn't happen very often, but different things can happen. But when you see this, a lot of times I don't want to bring that up because of biblically, then now you got to wrestle with that biblically.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Come on. It's the obvious. So there's Adam and Eve 6,000 years ago, beginning of humankind, which doesn't account for dinosaurs prior, or Noah's Ark and all that.
Well, I first off, the 6,000 year thing it doesn't actually say 6,000 years in the Bible. People have extrapolated that out. Another thing is that this whole notion of dinosaurs are actually in the Bible. The Leviathan is in the book of Job, which is the oldest book of the Bible, which very well could be a dinosaur. Man and dinosaurs could have lived at the same time. We just don't know. And here's the other thing, the whole carbon-14 testing thing. Thought a lot about that. oh, well, that's 7,000 years old, or that's 70 million years old. I don't know how they could actually tell if something's 70 million years old or something's, 6 million years old. I don't know if I believe all of that, but I do believe it's pretty obvious that there were creatures on this earth that are huge. One last thing I'll say is that if you look at Genesis chapter 1, the earth was in existence before Adam and Eve were here. It says that the earth stood out formless and there was chaos. It appears that the Bible makes it pretty clear that before Adam and Eve were here on the earth, that this planet in some form or another did exist. So I don't know everything, but I do know that it's hard to say that these fossils that we have aren't real. You can't say that. So they obviously existed at some time.
Yeah, I don't like to get into situations where I'm like questioning people's faith and stuff. So that's why I don't try to go there too much. But I can say,
go ahead,
man, I love listening to Jordan Peterson's lectures, who's a Christian. And he wrestles with these things too. And he just about 2 weeks ago did a show with 2 other professors that wrote a book based on his biblical studies on Jordan, which is, pretty amazing. And their conversation was pretty amazing. And a lot of it, I'm going to be honest with you, goes over my head. It is very intellectual, and you certainly need a strong basis of knowledge in the Bible. And these guys in particular talked a lot about Genesis, which was fascinating, but also over my head. And you would, I think, book. You would love those lectures. But yeah. I do. I like to hear them wrestle with reconciling today what we know now with biblical stuff, and because people have taken it so this dog's killing me, man. So at a face value of the world is 6,000 years old. There's no theory of evolution. There are no dinosaurs. There was, that's what it was like for a long, long time. And things have evolved over time. And I like to hear about that, how that's unfolding, like what a lot of Jordan Peterson will say a lot of things. He said something to those guys about Genesis that atheists like Sam Harris will take Genesis and pull it apart and say that could not possibly be because of these scientific facts, and that is the reality. Dog, really, give me a minute. And Jordan Peterson says, but that's not the whole truth. You're talking about some physics that have happened. And he says, I think it's more of a truth if you follow Genesis and you extrapolate the moral underpinnings of what has gone on and the meaning of what has gone on. You're going to get more truth out of that, even though you can't. It's really complicated, but I understand it. And with a dog whining in my ear like this, it's really hard to even think.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a little distracting. Yeah. But I would just say this, that I personally can't see where God and science are at odds.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
I think God is the God of science, and that's proven throughout the Bible as well. And obviously, we don't know everything, right? But we do know that these things are real. The fossils are real, and so we do also know that animals become extinct. We've seen that in our own lifetime. So. The proof that there was animal life that does not exist anymore shouldn't be too surprising whatsoever. And I think that there are many schools of thought that have tried to use science to disprove God. But I think that there's an equal amount of people that could point to those exact same things, just like you pointed out, and say, no, that doesn't really disprove God. That actually proves God even more. So that's all I have to say about
I think
that.
the two have to coexist.
Yeah. I think that that God and science go together.
I know the more
God wouldn't make sense if and here's the other thing too, is that science is fallible. We've learned things about science, and then we find out, nope, we were wrong about that. That's why, there's a theory. That's why these are based
Dr.
on
Fauci cannot be wrong.
That's a scary place right there. Well, when we deify these people, that's when we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to just say, and I read this great book. It's called The President and the Freedom Fighter by Brian Kilmeade. It's a New York Times bestseller out there, and it's about Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
I've heard of the book.
Yeah, it was a really well-written book. I've read a couple of books by him, and he does a really great job of putting this together. I love stories about Abraham Lincoln. I didn't really know a whole lot about Frederick Douglass, but in this book, he really pulls out how Lincoln was, first off, very similar backgrounds in a way. I mean, Lincoln was brought up in poverty, didn't have anything, kind of no way that a guy like this is going to end up as the president of the United States. Obviously, Frederick Douglass, a slave, no chance of him making any kind of mark on America. And these two guys end up intersecting later in life and change the whole country. It's sort of an amazing feat of impossibility for these two guys to even intersect, let alone change the reality of our United States. But when you take a look at, there's a couple things that came out that I didn't know, and maybe I wasn't as familiar with. But for instance, Abraham Lincoln didn't set out to free the slaves when he became the president.
Oh, it was a long and complicated process that basic history glosses right over.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, his main goal was to preserve the Union. But this book does a great job of showing how his thinking evolves over his presidency, and how Frederick Douglass really felt like as he escaped in order to become free. An amazing story that he had, and he ends up getting with these other abolitionists, and they all feel that in order to free the slaves, they have to get rid of this document called the Constitution and come up with a new document. And but it shows throughout the book how his thinking evolves over time as well, to the point where he realizes it's actually the Constitution that is the power behind freeing the slaves. Pretty interesting read. It's totally a page turner and worth your time checking it out.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that we should wind up. Merle, if you got anything else, please go ahead.
I think we're good.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got a few things to do, like kill this dog.
Yeah, I do too. I've got with the whole moving thing going on.
God.
Got some major things that are happening here today. Given I have a big load of things that are going to Goodwill. I've got a big donation that's going to Veterans of America as well. And
you know what? I want to put this bug in your ear, because I have some notes here about how to get rid of, how to sell your unwanted possessions, declutter, downsize. But since you've gone through so much of this right now, I think towards the upfront part of next episode, we should talk about that a bit, because you could shed some light on. I mean, I'm sure you've done a bit of research and had to make some strong decisions.
Everything happens so quickly as well that I'm probably not doing everything that I could be doing. So anything that you have might make me mad.
Well, I think it's worth a discussion. That's fine. I'm curious. I am curious. And hey, it's a few minutes discussion.
Yeah.
So
sounds good, man.
All right. Good luck with that, buddy. Have a great, how's the weather there?
Beautiful. It's been beautiful all week long. It's going to be probably 70 degrees out there today and sunny.
Nice. All right, guys. Love you. See you next week, buddy.
Take care.
All right, bye.